Well, I should be audible. Hopefully, I'm audible. Alright, so I have a lot going on. Hopefully it's all synced. Cool. My name is Max. I am doing my first real stream directly to YouTube. So pardon any imbalance or technical issue. There's bound to be something. Like, I'm still testing to make sure my chat works. Which it looks like it does. So my point for this short stream is to do two different things. The first of which is I'm going to be mapping the patch that I have on the left side of the screen that I've made in VCV Rack 2 to this Novation controller right here. And that is to play along and kind of over, you know, the period of the hour, try to start getting some sounds generated that will go towards the EP that I'm trying to finish right now, which is about 85% done. I think I need to write a little bit more of the lyrics, and I think like most of the music's done, but I just want to fill in some gaps and get some extra material to work with. So before I get too far in, I gotta make sure I post this in the Discord. I'm supposed to. I should mention I am I should mention I am a grad student at CU Denver. Oh. Right as I said that, I got a notification that OBS stopped, but alright, let me find my link. Get the stream actually going. Let's see. There we go. Okay. For those who have done live streaming before, unlike me on YouTube, if you happen to see me do something silly or dumb, just let me know, because this is my first time. I'm used to kind of the Twitch guidelines and pipeline. Alright. Live now. Deliver. Live now. Okay. So, what synthpatching is essentially taking signal flow and kind of like a quilt. You take different modules and put them together to create a sound or a sound environment, or, you know, some type of mixture of the two. And I've been playing around a lot with that towards my thesis portfolio. I just want to make really interesting, responsive, reactive sound environments, I guess. Right now is where I'm at, and I'm testing out I/O and DSP, or digital signal processing, and trying to come up with the most efficient ways that I can take samples and like a very small buffered sample size of sound, like a click heel, or like a heel click, or any type of footstep could be levitated to being, you know, if looped properly, into a synth, or be its own percussive background. So my patches are kind of based off of that. This one, I'll just run through what I'm doing here. First of all, it's going to sound weird because it's in odd time signature. It's in 7/4. I have it set on the Eugene, which is a Euclidean drum sequencer, basically. Long story short, just makes really good rhythms. I have it set to 8/14, so it's kind of like 7/4 in its impact and emphasis, and that's based off of, that's deliberate. The EP I'm working on references a lot of Slavic and Macedonian traditional music, which is my heritage. And so I've built kind of a couple different plugins that cater to that aspect of things. So one of them is on my EP. This is the layout for my EP right now in Ableton. This is more like kind of looking at the work in progress, because I started this off as a DAW-less project, which is to say that I wasn't using Ableton at the start, and everything is based off of this reference track that's in lavender up here. That's all stuff I ran through. That's all stuff I ran through. Can I get to the? Oh yeah, I can. I ran through this quadrant of stuff. This is my portable, like, studio station, so I can fit this all into a suitcase, and this riser is on wheels, so I can actually technically fit it all into here, except for this controller, but get a really compact setup to take basically a whole studio with me that doesn't have a digital audio workstation tethered to it. That being said, there's nothing wrong with digital audio workstations. It's just that I've been trying to think and produce outside of the box. So much of what I'm working on is stereo tracks that I am then adding just vocals and extra parts that weave in and out. So there's really just one track for a lot of the material. So, like, this is an example of a part of the EP. That's all coming. Well, the vocals I've tracked and stacked, but there's an original vocal track, and everything that's coming out of basically a stereo output from my SSL SIX mixer. That is what you're hearing, and I'm basing everything off of that. Everything has to be guided on those two rails, kind of like a train track. So I can't get too in my head about production if I already committed to like 90% of it. So this extra, I'm working on the last 10%. That's what this is. The actual session that I have open in Ableton here is 23 minutes long, and that's how long I want the EP to be right now. And so if I just navigate around on the screen, you can see that it starts off, and this whole waveform doesn't even really break up until about 6.5 minutes, and that's when there's like the first significant enough production change that I have to get off the grid or off the rails, as I was just saying. So, to bring us back full circle, because I feel like I'm doing a lot more talking than I am the things I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was, there's spots missing on this EP. There's just extra production that could be done, and I want to inject a little bit of this patch and maybe a couple others into the whole EP in various ways. But specifically today, I'm going to be focusing on this odd time signature and the end of the EP. So I'd like to play the EP from start to finish straight through so far, and ideally I would have had this set up. Hey Sam, I just saw, I'm trying to see what you said. Something about the music being too loud or not loud enough. I'm still juggling all my okay, music's louder. That's probably because I changed a little bit of my I/O. Let me try this. Get some more of this. What's really cool about this mixer, the SSL SIX mixer, which I have the smaller version of. Let me switch over, show it really quick. I wanted to have these all hotkeyed, like all these different angles, but it's taking me a minute. The SIX is this thing right here. And what I like about it is that it has this mode that you can attach to any dynamic microphone. So I have a super... Sorry, bad timing. So you can hear the difference right here. It's called LMC, which I think is... I have it written down somewhere, but... It makes a dynamic mic sound like a condenser if you need it to for talkback purposes in a studio environment or in small situations like the one I'm doing right now. Makes it easier to like talk to people if you're using a dynamic mic. Hopefully the balance will be a little bit more even here. I'm gonna do some playback. A lot of this stuff has some pretty aggressive dynamic range. Deliberately so. So I'm going to kind of take it from a spot where I know it's just going to continually get louder and louder, and hopefully get a good idea looking at my metering and making sure I'm still okay, because I had a family Zoom right before this, so that could have ruined everything. Thanks, Chris. So I got a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how the leveling was there, but it looked okay in OBS. I'm more concerned about if there's any like one particular feed that's lagging, or what compensation I might have to make along the way for, you know, any one element. Because normally what I do is I sum everything into HDMI from a capture card, because it actually that's okay as long as I just do it and make sure that gets done. And I also sometimes run a program called Magic, which is a visualizer program, audio visualizer program, which I will probably use in the future. But it's like kind of like taking any, you know, Winamp or your standard visualizer, and you can have that, you know, impact the chroma key or whatever in real time, and kind of turn your sound into a real-time canvas with minimal latency, because it's dedicated to do that, as opposed to Max MSP where it's trying to do everything. It's only for visual effects, and it's called Magic, which isn't a great name. So, alright, this is what the patch sounds like. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the feedback. If you guys have any feedback, feel free to leave it. I might miss it because I'm looking at 8 screens for the first time in this scenario. And if it sounds good, great. That's all I need right now, and then I can work on placement or whatever. So this patch is, the EP and the patch are called Svadba, which means wedding. In a lot of, I mean, it means wedding in Russian and Ukrainian and a lot of Slavic languages. And the traditional wedding Macedonian dance is done in sort of a 7/4 beat, so I'm trying to get that locked in with this patch, which sounds like this. Everything about this patch is it starts upper left hand corner with one sample, and then that sample, the voltage that VCV likes to read as the output gets fed into virtually everything else you see. So the sample is the what do you call that? The spinal cord, like the backbone of everything you hear. Everything is responsive to the sample interacting with the micro oscillator envelope, essentially. And then if I change that, it'll behave with the sample differently, and then I can get different drums and kicks, like kick and snare. This is just supposed to be the drums going through the 2 modules you see at the bottom next to the tree visualizer. It's kind of a kick and snare that are responding to the Eugene, which is the Euclidean drum machine, which is set to something that's Slavic, or specifically based off of a video from something called Svadba. So, if I take something like this, and I quantize the whole idea vaguely, and by vaguely I mean I have everything quantizing pretty quickly as far as what the actual notes of the sample, everything's based off of, the actual voltage per octave on the micro oscillator. All this stuff is trying to talk to each other in a way that doesn't run away, but changes pretty rapidly the second you change anything. So I can change the envelope. So if I change it to snare, let's try something. Oh, hold on. So this is the kick one, so it adds extra kicks based off of if it reaches a certain threshold to send the kick to the oscillator. Cymbal has a lot more noise to it. Snare is going to sound more like a snare drum filling in. And then the ones that are more melodic, the envelope will catch more of the actual waveform. And so this is cool, but then you can change the waveform, so it's all gonna behave totally different when you do that. So there's two really points of interest. One is the micro oscillator, and the other is what sample you put in. Really, that dictates where everything runs to after that point, and how the snares, the kick sound. The only thing that's kind of still random but still quantized is the notes, which are just in a pentatonic F, like the actual stuff I want this to go along with. It'll sound pretty good no matter what. So if I bring in the stuff later in my EP, this is how my EP hopefully will end. I don't have a sync for this yet. My MIDI controller won't talk between a Mac and a PC very nice right now. Trying to figure out how to set the MIDI up. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to set up MIDI in VCV Rack before. But it's kind of a pain in the ass. What it's trying to do is it's trying to remember your keystrokes. It's trying to remember the last thing you pressed when you're trying to set up the MIDI. And it remembers everything a little bit too well when you don't want it to. So I have to go back through and I have to unmap So select the launch key. We're gonna map all 4 of these faders. One. Yeah, it's just like not the right order of operations to execute really efficient. See, now I've double mapped some stuff. Yeah, see, now it's like trying to respond to, and I have barely even started. But let's see if I can get the first 4. One. Let's go back. This. Back. This. So, okay, so to describe what my gripe is, it's begging you to not touch anything while you assign. So in order to get, oh, I still don't even have, yeah, this is so kind of a bummer. But if I can get this done. Yeah, so you have to click twice. It shouldn't be this hard, is basically what I'm saying. Alright, so I have the 4 faders. Did I get that? Alright, so I have the 4 faders on my mixer. I can control kick, snare, melody, and I would say the filtered melody or the enveloped melody. So here's this beat will sound decent. Set just a couple more parameters. The way this thing's going to work the best is if we're able to control the MIDI for the octave of every single module that has an octave function. So the last 4 here on my MIDI map, the knobs up top, are going to go towards all basically tuning functions. Yeah, so there's the kick, and then we're gonna do, let's do that. We need the master quantizer, which is this little module right here. Set that. When you set something in VCV Rack, you get a tiny little yellow square next to the icon on the actual patch itself. So I have a pretty good layout. I am going to not worry about some of the other stuff I wanted to do just for the sake of keeping motion going. it should be noted too that like a couple of these modules, I love all these modules that I'm using because they're very low latency. They don't take up a lot of time or processing to get the job done, and I'm looking for minimal latency for my end goal here. But it's also worth noting that that's I'm obviously limiting myself and always working within very confined strains and trying to parse as much out as I can from those constraints. So introducing one module, like I noticed that now I'm at like 14 point something % max of DSP when I used to be at 10 before a couple of the modules got updated on this patch. So I have to pay attention to when somebody updates something and it impacts my overall DSP usage, or how much, you know, of the computer needs to be used to get my job done. Yeah, I'm having yeah, so the problem I'm having is with the MIDI on VCV Rack. It's reading, so this is me, for me to say out loud so I remember, because these types of things are the things I need to be focusing on if I want to improve my stream. First of all, don't try to do the MIDI mapping live. Secondly, the MIDI mapping is latching onto stuff in such a way that it feels like, because I have a MIDI hub to catch everything that's on this side, it's sending a clock somewhere that's causing the map to there is some type of signal passing through to my PC, which is just me not having looked at my MIDI hub and exactly how I've routed stuff recently, because I do have a lot of moving parts. So I'm not able to get, this thing's going to always try to clock back to something that just doesn't make sense. So I think what I would like to do with the remainder of, because I'm going to spend, the next 15 minutes trying to kind of hit this idea home, I'm going to reload the patch, and then I am going to sync it to the ending music. It's going to be a continual loop in Ableton while I change parameters on the patch, and hopefully we'll get some cool stuff that I can use in the long run, and then we'll listen through to my EP as I kind of like go out with the current mix. It's not done. Like I said, it's about 85% done, but there are some cool things and some notes I need to take in context of this stream, what I want to do for the next stream if I try to add just a little bit more when I'm more prepared. I'm already glad. I already thought this was a success because people responded to hearing sound on YouTube. So I feel like this is an A+. So the way I like to do this is usually find just a small segment in Ableton. This whole spot already has a backing beat that I grabbed from VCV Rack that sounds like this. So ideally I would have it set up so that the second I open VCV Rack, it's getting getting clocked from gear that's over here on this side. Right now I have it set up so that OBS doesn't have any obstruction MIDI-wise, so that there's nothing passing to this end of operations. You're seeing a lot of stuff that's going on my Mac right below me right now. All this stuff, like I had to kind of triage the signal flow to make sure that I got what I wanted at the end of the day when it came out of the actual feed. So this is restarted my MIDI router because I don't know why I'm not getting it to do anything that isn't synced to something else. So I turned something on in the wrong pattern, I think. Or maybe, you know, Zoom screwed something up. But I think I got a good amount of material. I'm going to mess around with my sound settings, probably stream again tomorrow if I can after class. And if I don't tomorrow, then I will have more steady streaming output next week. I will probably, I don't know, depends on weather. I might be out of town until Tuesday. Yeah, everything's rebooting now. It seems like I left something on too long or something got turned on in the wrong order. So, a reminder, kids, deal with those technical issues before you start streaming. But thanks for watching. I'm just trying to make sure that I got a good signal flow for at least part of this today, and that it isn't just a total loss and a bunch of sound going out into nothing. So thank you for watching. If you did, like and subscribe if you want to. I would like it if you did, because I'm going to keep doing this, and it would encourage me to keep doing this if you did. And my name is Max, and I make synth patches and interesting sounds that usually aren't, they're usually aggressive and sound pretty gross to some people, but a lot of people would say that this is grosser towards the end than it normally would be because of the technical stuff. But you know, we're gonna keep moving forward, and we're gonna make more streams, so let's do it. I hope to see you guys maybe tomorrow, if not tomorrow, next week. And I am signing off. I'm going to play the EP from the beginning. You can hear the overture, and it goes into a song called Ringtone. And then I'll probably sign off.
inside joke, or if you misspoke. If you can't tell the difference between a lie and a smile that is genuine, what's the point of making friends if you keep on mistaking them? I think I know what you meant when you said it was supposed to be a compliment. The more I try, the more you disguise your up and down replies like a theremin. Repeated lines before they bend, and in between them find you crying wolf instead. Just another flag that you tangle up in problems that turns redder than the feather of a robin. Now